Imagine writing a book so terrifying that the CIA steps in, quietly files it into a classified vault, and hides it from the public for decades. Not because it contained stolen nuclear codes, but because it claimed our world has already ended 5 times before.
Okay, a classified doomsday book? What, was it an apocalypse survival guide?
Close. In 1966, a highly credentialed aerospace engineer named Dr. Chan Thomas wrote a manuscript called The Adam and Eve Story. Sounds like a cute religious metaphor. It wasn't the literal step-by-step physical manual explaining exactly how the Earth's surface gets completely wiped clean. According to his research, our current modern society is just the 6th iteration of a repeatedly rebooted civilization.
Okay, you definitely have my attention. But if it's just another fringe doomsday prophecy, why would the intelligence community care enough to classify it?
Because Thomas wasn't a guy holding a cardboard sign on a street corner. He worked for McDonnell Douglas, specializing in advanced aviation, and purportedly researched UFO phenomena and anti-gravity technology. He was brilliant. His book took a concept called Earth Crustal Displacement, originally proposed by Charles Hapgood, and pushed it to the absolute extreme.
Wait, crustal displacement? Like continental drift? I thought that was just standard geology now.
Continental drift happens over millions of years. Hapgood believed it happened over thousands. Even Albert Einstein was so intrigued by Hapgood's early ideas that he wrote forewords for his books. But Dr. Chan Thomas, he looked at the data and said, no, it doesn't take thousands of years. The continents shift their positions in less than a single day.
A single day? You mean the land masses just slide across the globe in 24 hours?
Less than that. And the specific physical mechanics Thomas describes of this event are worse than any Hollywood disaster film you have ever seen. Before we dive into what actually happens to the surface of the planet, you might want to take a deep breath, because the physics of this global reset are going to give you absolute nightmares.
All right, I am officially braced. Give me the nightmare. How exactly does the world end in a matter of hours?
It starts deep within the Earth. The equator spins at roughly 1,000 miles per hour. We don't feel it because the land, the oceans, and the atmosphere are all rotating together in perfect harmony. But every few thousand years, Thomas claimed the Earth's magnetic and electrical interior gets severely disrupted. The molten layer beneath the crust suddenly acts like a free liquid lubricant.
Okay, so if the crust is lubricated, the land just slips?
Violently. The weight of the ice caps yanks the Earth off its axis. The land masses hit the brakes, but the oceans and the atmosphere, they do not stop. They continue spinning eastward at supersonic speeds.
Oh my God.
Imagine the Pacific Ocean rearing back and piling up into a mountain of seawater more than 2 miles high. The supersonic wall of water races eastward. It hits the west coast and shreds everything. Los Angeles, San Francisco erased from existence in seconds. The water is moving so fast it simply buries modern cities as if they were grains of sand.
2 miles high. That is taller than mountain ranges. You couldn't fly above it. You couldn't drive away.
You couldn't even stand up. 1,000-mile-per wind would tear skyscrapers to shreds like toothpicks. Millions of people would be thrown around like they were inside a giant blender. New York, Chicago, Boston, Dallas, nothing but myths. Barely a stone left where millions walked just hours before.
That is absolute total devastation. But surely somewhere is safe. What about the high mountains?
Not even the mountains are safe, because the crust is tearing apart. Seas of white-hot liquid fire spread across the surface. And if you somehow survive the water and the fire, the geography itself has changed. The poles shift 90 degrees to the equator, and the equator moves to the poles. The sun stops moving in the sky.
What does that do to the temperature?
One side of the Earth experiences an instant temperature drop of 180 degrees. Even the warmest tropical environments plunge to 80 degrees below zero. In less than 4 hours, everything freezes solid. An instant frozen hell. And the most chilling part? There are physical anomalies that suggest this flash freeze actually happened.
Wait, actual physical evidence of a 180-degree flash freeze? I thought this was just a classified thought experiment.
It is a fringe theory, absolutely. But Thomas backed it up with some very strange anomalies. Have you heard of the frozen woolly mammoths discovered in Siberia?
Yeah, the ones they dig out of the permafrost, right?
Exactly. Here's the detail catastrophists focus on. Some of these massive animals were frozen so incredibly fast that scientists found undigested summer buttercups still in their mouths. They were eating summer flowers and then boom, instant freeze.
Okay, my inner skeptic has to jump in here. Doesn't mainstream science say they probably just fell into icy crevasses or mudslides?
You are 100% correct. Mainstream paleontology argues it was local environmental traps, not a global freeze ray. But for researchers looking at the pole shift theory, to freeze a multi-ton mammoth before it even swallows its food suggests a temperature drop to unimaginable extremes in a matter of minutes.
Even if it's disputed, that gives me actual chills. So what about human records? Did ancient Opal write about this?
Almost every ancient culture on the planet has a great flood myth. The Abrahamic religions have Noah's Ark, the Mayans have the hurricane flood, the Sumerians wrote about it in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Over 140 different, isolated cultures from native tribes in the Americas to Pacific Islanders all talk about a great flood that cleansed the earth.
Okay, one myth is a fun story. 140 identical myths across oceans? That starts to look like a historical police report.
Precisely. Recently, geologists have found evidence of catastrophic flooding in the Black Sea, the Mediterranean, and massive ancient floods in China. Many of these findings date back to around 6,500 to 7,000 years ago, exactly when Dr. Chan Thomas claimed the last major reset happened.
So, wait, if the last reset was 7,000 years ago, what the hell was here before that? Were we just cavemen?
Look at the Great Sphinx in Egypt. Geologists have proven that the deep vertical erosion on the body of the Sphinx was caused by thousands of years of heavy torrential rainfall.
But Egypt is a desert. It hasn't seen that kind of heavy rain in thousands of years.
Exactly, which implies it was built before the last great climate shift, before the emergence of the known Egyptian civilization.
So you're saying whoever built the Sphinx was part of the civilization that got washed away? Were there others?
There's massive evidence pointing to entire lost continents swallowed by the sea during the last pole shift. Have you ever looked at a satellite map of Northwest Africa?
Not recently. What am I looking for?
You are looking for the Richet structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara. It is a massive concentric geological feature. Now, mainstream geologists will tell you it's a natural volcanic dome, but for alternative researchers, its size, shape, and concentric rings perfectly match Plato's exact description of the most famous lost city in human history, Atlantis.
No way. Atlantis was in the Sahara Desert. I thought it sank to the bottom of the ocean.
That's the terrifying beauty of the pole shift theory. When a 2-mile-high tsunami sweeps across the Earth, it doesn't just sink things, it buries them. If you look at the landscape near the Eye of the Sahara, you see massive ripples in the dirt. They look like rolling hills, but they are 50 feet high. Some experts argue these are the fingerprints of a mega tsunami, a massive mud flood.
That is absolutely wild. So Atlantis was real, but it just got completely buried in mud and sand.
It wasn't the only one. On the exact opposite side of the world, in the Pacific Ocean, there are records of another lost continent called Mu. Ancient texts from the Maya in India describe a massive landmass stretching from Hawaii down to Easter Island.
Wait, Easter Island? With the giant stone heads?
Yes, and here is a disturbing fact about the Moai statues on Easter Island. Most people don't realize they actually have full bodies. They are massive, 30-foot tall, 80-ton statues, completely buried up to their necks in tightly packed dirt.
Why would anyone carve an 80-ton body just to bury it in a hole?
They didn't. Statues were likely standing completely above ground on a thriving continent, and a global cataclysm buried them in a mountain of mud and debris.
Oh my god, a mud flood washing over giant statues. That paints a terrifying picture. But the real question is, when is the next one? Did Thomas give a date?
He did, and this is where things get a little humorous. Thomas updated his prediction in 1993, claiming the next massive pole shift would happen around the year 2000.
Oh, thank God. The year 2000? Well, we made it. The guy was wrong. Y2K didn't happen, and the Earth didn't flip upside down. We can all relax.
You can relax about the physical Earth flipping upside down like a pancake. Crustal displacement is mostly considered pseudoscience today, but you absolutely should not relax about what is actually happening to our poles right now, because the real science is actually much scarier than a tsunami.
Scarier? How can anything be scarier than a 2-mile-high wall of water?
Because physical pole shifts are fringe, but magnetic pole shifts are 100% real, geologically proven, and we are dangerously overdue for one.
Okay, explain the difference. Magnetic pole shift? Like my compass points south instead of north.
Yes, but your compass is the least of your worries. The Earth has a powerful magnetic field generated by our molten core. This field is our planetary shield, protects us from lethal solar radiation, solar winds, and massive coronal mass ejections from the sun.
Okay, so the shield keeps us from getting microwaved?
Exactly. Historically, the Earth's magnetic poles flip-flop about every 300,000 years. The lava records prove it. But here's the terrifying part. The last time the poles flipped was nearly 800,000 years ago. We are 500,000 years overdue.
We are overdue for a shield failure.
Yes. And the poles are already moving. In the 1990s, the magnetic North Pole was drifting about 9 miles a year. Today, it is sprinting toward Russia at almost 40 miles a year. Our GPS systems are constantly being patched just to keep planes in the sky. And worst of all, our magnetic field is weakening rapidly.
What happens if a solar storm hits us while the shield is flipping?
That is the true cataclysm. The field gets tangled and chaotic. A massive solar storm would act like a global EMP. Satellites are instantly fried. GPS drops. Communications go dark. High enough solar activity could melt transformers across the entire planet. No electricity for days, weeks, maybe months.
Supply chains freeze. Supermarkets empty in 24 hours.
Civilization wouldn't be washed away by a tsunami. It would be quietly, violently dismantled by a total lack of power. Chan Thomas got the physical mechanism wrong, but the result is exactly the same. The reset is coming.
Wow, I guess I really do need to grab some fresh underwear. And maybe a massive backup generator.
A generator won't hurt, because history proves that the slate always gets wiped clean eventually. Keep questioning the narrative, stay vigilant, and we'll see you in the Weird Zone next time.